Everywhere we look, democracy seems to be in trouble. Only you can protect democracy. Welcome to Section 1 and to S.I.D.E, Students in Democracy Education. 10 fundamental principles of liberal democracy and 10 conversations. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to S.I.D.E and to the next conversation. Today, you will be talking about the apostasy principle. And this is how it goes. Apostasy is not a crime. That's it. That's the entire principle. This principle is fundamental to a liberal democracy because there are societies in which some form of apostasy is indeed a crime. And more than that, there are places in which it's even punishable by death. But just what is apostasy? Apostasy is an act of refusing to continue to follow, obey, or recognize a religious faith. That's the narrow definition. Occasionally, though, it's used metaphorically in a broader sense to refer to the renunciation of a non-religious belief, such as a political party, a social movement, or even a sports team. Apostasy, from the Greek word apostasia, means a defiance of an established system or authority, an abandonment or breach of faith. In the first century, apostasy was a technical term for political revolt or defection. At Section 1, we use the term apostasy in this broad political sense, and we mean that apostasy can never be a crime in a free and democratic society. We see this apostasy principle as being an extension of the equality and pluralism principles. What do we mean? We mean that there can be no official state-imposed belief system from which you as a citizen are not entitled to deviate. Independent conscience and belief, even including dissent from these very fundamentals of liberal democracy, must always be protected. The Canadian Constitution, the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and constitutions in free and democratic societies around the world articulate this fundamental principle by protecting things such as freedom of conscience, freedom of religion, freedom of thought, belief, opinion, and of course, freedom of expression, including freedom of the press and of other media of communication. The apostasy principle grounds the principle of the secular state and of the prohibition against state-imposed beliefs. That's why, for example, we have what is commonly referred to as a separation of church and state. The idea that there can be no established religion, no mandatory official state religion or state belief system, not just about religion, but about everything else. You will note that there are all sorts of exceptions to this rule. For example, in Canada, the Catholic religion has a privileged position protected in the Constitution in relation to matters involving public education. That's because Catholicism was the religion of one of Canada's founding peoples. And so it was part of the original constitutional bargain that it would have that privileged position with constitutional protection. Similarly, there are linguistic rights that occupy privileged and protected positions in the Constitution that give them a status that is different from languages that are not mentioned or protected in the Constitution. There are other societies in which these kinds of privileges are afforded certain religions, certain cultural groups, certain ethnic groups. And that, of course, prompts reasonable questions about the political legitimacy of those systems of government, indeed of any system of government that countenances such exceptions. As the great political philosopher John Rawls argued, in a well-ordered society, laws and policies have to be justifiable to all citizens through reasons that are accessible and understandable to everyone, regardless of their particular belief system, regardless of their particular religion, affiliation, opinion, political preference, or other allegiance. This principle of public reason can be applied to the question of apostasy laws in general, prompting a discussion about whether such laws can ever be justified to all citizens through reasons that are not rooted in a particular religious, political, philosophical, or cultural perspective. As we saw with the pluralism principle, societies are characterized by a diversity of reasonable belief systems, a diversity of religions, of values, of practices, meaning that people hold different and sometimes conflicting views on great moral, religious, and other philosophical or political questions. A just society must tolerate, must accommodate this pluralism, and must allow individuals to live according to their own reasonable beliefs, as long as they respect the basic principles of justice and, of course, of the rule of law. This idea is highly relevant to the apostasy principle because it raises the question of whether a government, a state, or a society can ever legitimately punish individuals for changing their beliefs, their opinions, their allegiances, when there's a diversity of religious views within society. While we do regulate and sometimes even punish behavior, action, conduct in a free and democratic society, we do not regulate or punish belief, opinion, or thought. To do so would be to violate the most fundamental aspect of what it is to be a human being, the recognition of our equal moral personality and of our equal human dignity. Over to you for a fantastic conversation about the apostasy principle.